evening. Thanks for being here. I'm Troy Charles. Here are your top stories. Thunder Bay Police say they will not be randomly stopping people and checking why they are not at home during the stay-at-home order. Police issued a release in response to emergency measures announced on Friday by the province, giving law enforcement enhanced powers to stop and question the public. Thunder Bay Police say they continue to review the new regulations. Their release reads, "We will enforce when situations dictate, such as incidents where there has been a blatant disregard of the province's stay-at-home orders, and be assured we will be taking a fair and reasonable approach regarding the enforcement of the new orders." Meanwhile, Premier Ford has backtracked on at least one provision of new COVID-19 measures announced Friday. This afternoon, less than 24 hours later, Ford announced on social media the government would amend the order to exempt playgrounds. So playgrounds will remain open. In a statement issued Saturday afternoon, the City of Thunder Bay said it plans to fully implement the new provincial rules. Among those new measures that will be enforced is the closure of golf courses. As of 12 a.m. this morning, the Ontario government's new restrictions went into effect. Catalina Gillies went to a few local courses to see how they are handling the news.
Just yesterday, the greens were filled with Thunder Bay residents enjoying the fresh air with a round of golf. However, today is a different story. Premier Doug Ford ordered golf courses to be closed in the additional measures announced yesterday after he allowed them to be open in the initial stay-at-home order. Dragon Hills golf course owner Mike Komar says he's unclear on the new restrictions.
We're very frustrated for sure. We don't know what we're supposed to do, what we can do, what we cannot do. We have not gotten an official notice from anybody. The media basically has been saying that golf courses will close. Doesn't say when we have to close.
Northern Lights golf complex owner Gerald Brokelman says he doesn't understand why Thunder Bay has the same restrictions as Southern Ontario, and that his golf course had many measures in place to ensure a safe environment for players.
Nobody was in the clubhouse, one person in at a time. Like, we have the sanitizer, we have the rules, we got the sheets up, we got everything. Like, there's only 4 that go out at a time, so you're still less than 5. You're playing golf. If you're closer than 6 feet, you get hit in the head with a golf club anyway. So I just don't get it. I honestly don't. I think they better get this straightened out pretty quick because the people had enough.
Golf courses aren't the only outdoor activity that have been included in the new restrictions. Soccer fields, basketball courts, and more are also included in the stay-at-home order that's been extended for another 2 weeks. Catalina Gillies, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay District Health Unit reported 4 new COVID-19 cases Saturday, with the daily case count remaining in the single figures for a 5th straight day. With 5 previous cases declared resolved, the number of confirmed active cases in the district fell to 56, the lowest total since January 8th. All 4 of the cases reported involved residents of Thunder Bay and the surrounding area. 2 were attributed to household contact and 2 to travel outside of northwestern Ontario. No new variants of concern were reported. There have been 10 variant cases identified so far in the health unit. There were 9 district residents in hospital with the virus as of Saturday, a decline from 3 from the previous day. 3 of those people were in the intensive care unit. Sticking with the health unit, Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Janet DeMille, acknowledges there's room for improvement when it comes to Ontario's public health system, but she doesn't believe amalgamating health units is the answer. Mayor Bill Morrow is among 5 Northern Ontario mayors who signed a letter to the Premier last month asking him to reconsider his government's plan to reduce the number of public health units from 34 to just 10. The City of Thunder Bay is backing that call as well. DeMille says, particularly in light of COVID-19, she hopes the government can find better ways than amalgamation to make public health more efficient.
I could show lots of examples of being a local public health unit has benefited in the time of this pandemic. But at the same time, there's capacity issues when health units are fairly small. There can be capacity issues in responding to the kind of things we've seen with this pandemic. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that we need to regionalize. There's other ways of dealing with those capacity issues. So I really hope as we move forward to be part of those discussions and to look at what's the best structure for public health.
DeMille says the province is still committed to the public health modernization plan that was first laid out in the 2019 provincial budget. Multiple attempts by TBT News to get clarification from the Ministry of Health went unanswered. Health Minister Patty Hajdu says while there's no timeline for the federal government to implement a universal basic income, the overwhelming support for the idea at the Liberal Party convention last weekend is an important first step. Advocates in Thunder Bay have been calling for a federal program ever since the Ford government abruptly canceled the provincial pilot that was underway here and a few other municipalities back in 2018. Hajdu says the fact that 77% of Liberal delegates supported the idea at the recent convention sends a powerful message to Cabinet, much like it did before the party put another high-profile piece of legislation in its place.
The Liberals legalized cannabis, and the genesis of that work actually came from young Liberals at a convention probably over a decade ago. You know, at the time, of course, there was a lot of attention paid to it by all kinds of different journalists, and Liberal Party, wasn't rapidly didn't get picked up rapidly by the Liberal Party, but it did end up in a platform, and it was the work of the young Liberals that did that. So I will just say, party conventions matter, grassroots politics matters. That's where the ideas come from, and eventually they make their way into platforms.
Toronto area Liberal MP Julie Dershowitz introduced a private member's bill earlier this year calling for a national strategy to evaluate how a basic income program could be implemented. As the Canada-US border remains closed and non-essential travel from Manitoba is now halted, tourist outfitters are still uncertain if they will have a season, and some wonder if their business will survive to see 2022. Officials in Sioux Narrows Nestor Falls are pleading with upper levels of government to come up with measures to save their industry. Adam Riley has the details.
In late January, the township of Sioux Narrows Nestor Falls passed a resolution pleading upon the province to realistically assist local businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic due to lockdowns and the border closure, which affects all of the tourist-based businesses in the community.
There's no industry here. The industry is tourism. And so we're quite concerned after the first 9 months, and we're into shutdowns, and so we sent out a cry for help to the province, saying, we need something here.
And as it turns out, the province was receptive, and Dufresne says over time it introduced various measures that were mentioned in the resolution. And while he remains optimistic, he notes there have been casualties.
I heard of one business shut down. Now I don't know if that means they're not going to reopen or not, but other than that, I haven't heard of anyone that's thrown in the towel yet.
For 85 years, Hellier's Resort has entertained tourists, primarily Americans, for fishing trips out onto Lake of the Woods. Third-generation owner Wayne Hellier says a sticking point for him is the lack of direction from the government. He says guest deposits have been rolled over from last year into this year, and if guests cancel, he won't be able to pay them back.
The not knowing is a really difficult thing because I have 250 reservations, and I don't know what to tell them when they phone. Can I come in June? Well, probably not. Can I come in September? Maybe.
Hellier considers himself to be one of the lucky ones, as he was able to diversify the business to include a small store with gas pumps to bring in some income. He says there was some particular wording in the request for financial assistance from the federal government, which asked for April financial losses that he feels are rigged against the industry.
Everyone's cabins are empty in April. It's like the quietest month of the year. There's no ice fishing, and walleye season is closed, and it's like as if they were picking that month so that it wouldn't apply to tourist outfitters.
The Canada-US border has been closed to non-essential traffic since March of 2020. Adam Riley, TBT News.
It was a somber Saturday for the British royal family, who held a funeral for Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Due to COVID protocols, just 30 family members and friends were allowed to attend the service. CTV's Paul Workman was at the Windsor Castle.
A day of high symbolism and family emotion, beginning with a procession for a man who dedicated his life to country and crown. With many eyes on grandsons Prince Harry and Prince William, knowing their relationship is troubled. Prince Philip himself helped design the military green Land Rover, fitted to carry his coffin, which was draped in his own flag, his Royal Navy sword resting on top. Outside, a pause for a national minute of silence. Then, members of family arriving in an empty St. George's Chapel, the pandemic keeping the guest list to only 30. The Queen sitting alone in the chapel, a stark reminder that she had lost a man who was her strength and stay for 73 years.
We are here today in St. George's Chapel to commit into the hands of God the soul of his servant Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh.
Prince Philip was 99 years old. Known for a sense of humor, some would call it wicked. A father, grandfather, and great-grandfather.
With grateful hearts, we remember the many ways in which his long life has been a blessing to us.
Philip chose the songs and the readings for the service. At his request, there was no eulogy, choosing to keep it simple to the end.
Cloudy weather quickly puts all to rights, and dew brings welcome relief after heat.
And as mourners filed out into the sunshine, Harry and William were seen walking side by side and chatting, together again at least, in tribute to their grandfather. For now, Prince Philip's body will be kept in the royal vault at St. George's Chapel. Eventually, upon the Queen's death, husband and wife will be reunited in the royal burial ground not far from the castle. Paul Workman, CTV News, Windsor.
As always on the weekends, joined by Avery McRae. Avery, we transition from the royal family to the Kansas City Royals, who the Blue Jays are playing this weekend.
And it's a lot of fun because we got a doubleheader after yesterday's game was rained out, and the first game went just as Blue Jays fans would hope. We got the details when we come back.